Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moonride. First of all, thanks so much for your well wishing and concern about me in Australia. I'll tell you, everything is great. On a physical level, everything is fine. I live in a very safe place in Australia. Still, I'll tell you, it's pretty depressing when you go camping and you can see the smoke from the fire on Kangaroo Island, where I spent part of my last summer. Half the kangaroos are dead on that island, burned alive, and there may be some species that actually go extinct. I tell you this information, I don't want to depress you further. I'm sure you're already there. I'm doing it for the opposite reason. I'm kind of, feeling very upset and demotivated. This is why I'm going to ask Spirit about this topic. How do we stay motivated? What should we do? That's the topic for today before I move into political questions. I really want to know, what the heck are we doing this for? Is there a point here? I need to know that. This is why I will be sharing it with you. So, first question, Great Spirit, is going to be, what should we do? What should we do in this crisis period where climate change seems to be knocking at our door? One thing that I'm seeing when I do this work before I, I, I talk to anybody and I make a video, I always pull a circle of fire down from above, and the circle of fire is there to to sort of protect me as I do the work, but it's also the inspiration. It is man in the moon in a sense. I'm seeing that for everyone. We all have to somehow connect to spirit. The practical rules that we used to use, how we used to change our government, is not working so well anymore. One thing that we do have is our spirituality, and that circle reminds me that we're all connected. So I would really encourage you to connect with spirit now, in any way, shape, or form. You can't change the world, but you can change yourself. And that way, you do change the world. Look at Jane Goodall. That's what she did. So, Spirit, can you be a little bit more specific? What can you do right now? Make coalitions. I see people shaking hands, and shaking hands with people that don't necessarily look like them, that don't necessarily agree with them. You know, again, that's one good thing that's happening is we're being compelled to make community. We're being compelled to communicate. We're being compelled to find some kind of agreement with people who aren't exactly like us. This is democracy, and we have no choice. We are going to have to do this. To anybody who wants to defeat Trump, I'm going to say you might have to work together with people who you don't agree with totally. That is important in a democracy. It doesn't mean you have to give up your morals or anything else. Don't do that. But what terms can you come to agree with someone who, maybe they're a libertarian or they don't agree with you on some topic? Communicate. That's important. And understand that insofar as we're doing this, we are learning. We're learning to communicate about important things because we're under threat. I'm also reminded that the United States, the individual 13 colonies, did not agree with each other. They had to come to a compromise. Now, the compromise was not what everybody wanted. It included slavery and other terrible things, but there is something to be said for the action of compromise if we didn't necessarily get the result we wanted. Whether it be better not to have a king and have slavery, that's an open question. But let's remember that the reason that the country was begun was so that more people could become free. And the document that serves us is supposed to allow for change. That document ended slavery. It granted women the right to vote and gay and lesbian people the right to get married. So remember that there is still something to that document. And don't forget, the Constitution belongs to you. Don't let anybody tell you the Constitution means this or means that. The Constitution means what it means to you. It's yours. if you're an American person, it's yours. And if you're not an American person, well, the truth belongs to you. Hmm. Hmm. Don't get distracted. I notice right now an ant is crawling up my leg. Okay, so I'm trying not to be distracted here. Do the same. See what you can do to keep going. Remember, things will change. Regardless, things will change. Find helpful people. That's like a clear audio message I get. Find helpful people. Get rid of people that are not helpful for you in this lifetime. You don't need to accept everybody's apology. You don't need to be friends with every single person. You don't do violence, but you can decide who's helpful and who's not, and it's totally okay for you to decide person A is not helpful to me in this lifetime, and I'm moving on. This is a message. All the fires that I've seen were really a message for me. You gotta keep working. You gotta accelerate. You gotta work a little bit harder. We're going to be living with these fires for the rest of our lives. It's not going to get better. This is the beginning of the summer in Australia. So we must act. We must fight. We must do whatever we can. Spirit, sometimes people are overwhelmed and they don't know that they can change the world. They're just one person. What can somebody do if they feel like they have no power to change things? Because they might just have a little power and that's that. What can we do? What can one person do? Again, I see Jane Goodall. Look how she changed the world. And she changed the world just by being a good person. She didn't go fight any battles. She didn't vanquish the British. She wasn't Joan of Arc. She's just a good person. And she went out and did good things. And she stuck to her guns. You don't have to have these huge effects and be famous like Jane Goodall to do that. You can just do that. And the act of doing that is a good act. It makes you a human. It's a movement of your soul. That's all that is required. You could do this and maybe no one would even notice. That doesn't mean that thing that you did wasn't the right thing to do. It just means that you don't get to be famous for it like some people. Well, it's still important to do that. It's still important for your soul. And remember, when you're connecting to your soul, you are doing the work. It doesn't really matter if you can't stop the fires. What matters is that you, via the fires, connect somehow to your soul and try to do better. Small acts of kindness really matter. And small acts of defiance matter, too. Don't forget that, even if it's just between a few people, they matter. And you matter. That's the other thing that I'm getting. Every person that's watching this matters a lot. Every single person in this universe matters a lot. Just by existing, just by observing, just by making the choices to do something that helps others and something that helps only yourself, that's a decision. And that's how you become. And remember, every single moment you're becoming, every single time you're having a feeling or emotion or you're making decisions, that is your soul creating itself. And no one can stop you from doing that, no matter how bad the situation is. It's helpful to know that the truth is going to be the truth. It doesn't really matter what anyone else says. The truth will always be the truth. If you ever get a chance, there's a photograph of Nazi rally, and every single person is giving the Hitler salute except for one person. Right? His truth was still true, and it's still true now, many years later. And understand also that if this stuff is making you sad or anxious, or you have strong feelings about these things, that's good. It's an invitation to yourself. It's an invitation to get to know yourself and feel those feelings and accept that, Not everything's happy. And having those feelings should not make you feel hopeless. If you have those feelings, you're a human. Just do small things. Here's an example of a small thing. I try to recycle, right? Now, I still take airplanes all the time. So, how is that fair? Well, I do my best. That's what the universe asks for us. I can't stop visiting family members. Okay, I can't. But I can take a fuel-efficient car. You can't be perfect in this world, but you can do your best. That's all that's required. You don't need to be that one person that changes the course of history. That's not as important as people make it out to be. What's important is that you find your strength. One way to find your strength is to encounter your feelings and just acknowledge them. Wow, I feel really bad about this. Here's one other voice of hope that I'm getting. Since these fires have started, people have become so outraged at the Prime Minister that every single person he tries to shake his hands with, they tell him to his face to go to hell. That is very hopeful for me. It's almost like this is a little prototype for what could happen in America. And I think when fires are raging all over America, believe me, the politicians will hear about it because people can see it. They can see climate change. So it makes me hopeful that once the evidence is there in front of their eyes, that people will be motivated to change. Spirit, will be too late? And once people figure this out, will it be too late? No, I'm getting a no, but it will be harder. There'll be a lot of fires before that. And in those fires, there will be victims, but it won't be the end of the world. It won't be the end of humanity. It'll just make humanity really strong. Really, really strong. Look, if nothing else, that's your goal. Become a stronger, better, more self-aware person. You start with one person, that's yourself. That's how you start. And you understand that it's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to feel really depressed about this. It's okay to be upset. You are a human, and that's okay to be feeling that way. How can you channel that feeling into something useful? Well, that's a bit up to you. It's okay if you take your time, but it is important that we all act in the ways that we can, even if that's just a tiny little influence. If you're a parent, answer's easy. Just be a great parent. Teach your kids what they need to know about climate change, the Constitution. For the rest of y'all, just think about from a perspective of what can be done. It has to be clear. I can do this. This is a waste of time. Don't worry about the waste of time. It's just not in your interest. It's a distraction. Spirit is again showing me the connections between people. That's what matters. It's a human connection. There's a feeling between people of empathy and love. That is what really matters. If you can find that anywhere in your life, revel in it. If you can extend that to more people, great. That will be really helpful for you. If it's available to you, join any group that's moving towards justice and a better planet. In any way that's available to you. You can't do everything. Just choose one or two things. You can't solve every crisis. If you do something, it'll make you feel more powerful, and that will lead to less depression and better feelings about everything all around. Understand that the human life is a life of work. We're all here on this planet, we're learning a lot, but it's tough. It's not an easy thing. Give yourself a break, okay? If it feels tough, yeah, it is tough. Other humans are here to help you make it better. Just choose some. Choose some that are worthwhile. And if you already have a bunch of them, find a new one. Right? Make those connections. That's where it all starts. All right? Thanks for watching.